Welcome. I'm Tom Flynn from TFC Research Innovation. I'm your moderator for the next 2 days, so we're going to get to know each other quite well. Just a bit of background about me. I run a company based here in Dublin, an SME. We deal in 2 areas. One is security, the other area is e-health, and we work across 4 pillars. The first pillar being conceptual architecture, which I think will be very important for this project we're going to talk about now, STAIR4SECURITY. Project management, also better practices in standardization, and finally outreach. So that's a bit about me. Now I'm going to, before I move forward, I very much would like to welcome 2 people to formally welcome you all to the event. Lydia, who is our project coordinator from Senelect, will be first. And unquestionably, I'd like Philippe, who is also online, to say a few words, and then we'll kick this project off really true. So I'm going to hand the floor over to Lydia now, and thank you.
Thank you, Tom, and good morning, everybody. I'm pleased to welcome you all to this event on behalf of STAIR4SECURITY Consortium, and thank you for your interest into this project. STAIR4SECURITY is a project that contributed toward the ambition to strengthen the interaction among all stakeholders involved in the security landscape, and also in bringing standardization closer to research and innovation actors. This is a key objective for the 2 European standard organizations that I represent, STAN and Senelect, in order to ensure that we have an inclusive standardization system. I hope that this event will give you a good overview of the project's work and achievements, and I also hope it will represent a fruitful opportunity for discussion, as the result of STAIR4SECURITY will be very important in light of the upcoming launch of Horizon Europe. I'm glad that in these 2 days we will have here with us several guest speakers from different research projects, as well as representatives from the Commission, especially DG Home, who supported us during the entire project lifetime. I also would like to thank the community of European Research and Innovation for Security for including STAIR4SECURITY final conference into their featured events. And last but not least, I would like to thank all the members of STAIR4SECURITY project for their work and commitment, and especially the team who worked on the organization of this event, which we all hope it will be a success. With this, I give the floor back to Tom and to Philippe, and I wish you all to enjoy these 2 days together.
Thank you very much, Lydia, very much for the excellent welcome, appreciated by everybody. Philippe, I'm going to pass the floor to you.
Yes, thank you, Tom. Thank you, Tom. Well, in fact, I will have not much to say about standardization, because you will be discussing that in depth all the 2 days. I would like to stress, obviously, the importance of standards in ensuring interoperability in the I would say disaster risk management cycle, from the prevention to response. We have observed that in the last years, and it's not only looking at focusing on natural hazards, but also on CBRN issues, and so this is quite obvious, and it will be discussed thoroughly among you. While the experience have shown, obviously, that in the last years, the practitioners and the policymakers were not, in a way, sufficiently involved in discussions related to standardization, identification of standard needs, and it has an impact also on the way we are designing our research program related to support to standardization in the disaster risk management and CBRN. So this STAIR4SECURITY project is about this. Actually, it's really to try to improve these links with practitioners and policymakers, and figure out what could be a good mechanism in the future to better identify where our research efforts should be put, actually, where the EU funding should be best used in support of standardization related research. So this is something that we are constantly, actually, I would say, discussing, knowing that the level of understanding of standards is very dispersed in the different communities, including the scientific community, but also the policy-making community. In fact, the word standard as such is not understood the same way by different people. In practitioners we are very often listening about standard operating procedure, best practices, but they are actually not speaking about EN standard or ISO standards. So very often this corresponds to harmonized guidelines that are not necessarily standards, and they are not necessarily willing to have formal standards. So we have a dialogue to be set with practitioners to ensure that we are understanding each other well, and identifying what type of needs they have really. Do they need to have a formal standard related to, for example, interoperability of tool solutions in international teams, for example, or do they need actually more local or regional harmonized guidelines? It's something that needs to be clearly clarified. We have 10 workshop agreement. We are working on that in STAIR4SECURITY that have also, I would say, an impact on the way we are also designing our research. So I think it's quite important to have this consultation established in a very strong way among the different users, because SENS-ENELEC and the technical committees have a very long standing experience in establishing, developing standards. We are in a way in an upstream position regarding research that is anticipating what could be the needs to develop standards so in a few years from now. And we should not fall into the trap of I would say developing research which are the reflect of academic or research expression. By this, scientists will certainly, and it's not a criticism because I'm a former scientist, but scientists will see very often good opportunities for possible standards and put research efforts to develop this kind of thing, but not without necessarily checking with practitioners and policymakers that it is in line with what they expect. And this kind of mechanism, this filter, is lacking. And I've been following since 2013 the discussions that arose from the M487 mandate that was given to SENS-ENELEC and the successive attempts that we have done to identify indeed research in support to standardization via resistant, and now we have STAIR4SECURITY, we have strategy, we have several projects, but we don't yet have a mechanism by which we can consult really the users, practitioners, policymakers, and the scientific community, and obviously the scientists, the relevant technical committees, to say, well, according to this policy, the feasibility of developing standards, the needs expressed by practitioners, these are the standards that the research that we will put in our research programming. For the time being, it's still generic in a way, what we are doing. And I would like to have a step forward regarding commission research programming into something more specific. And we need a mechanism for that. We need a consultation, we need a dialogue, and it's what I wanted to express as an introduction of this important conference, that the next years will be about setting this kind of mechanism so that in Horizon Europe, we are in a better situation to respond to specific needs. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Philippe. Thank you, Lydia, too. I think both welcomes are very good. And what you said, Philippe, is quite to the point of what we're trying to do in STAIR4SECURITY. So we're going to press on, and I just want to tell you how we're going to run this event. You all know it's been recorded, so there's no need to explain that any further at this stage. I think if there's a problem, obviously you can leave, and the same again tomorrow. But it's a closed event, and so what we're going to do, we will have the microphones and cameras up, which you're quite aware of. And we'll have social media working away in the background. So those who are keen to be active in social media, you'll see there the STAIR4SECURITY Twitter ID. And likewise, the event is there is #S4S final event. So please, as you wish, anything which is constructive and helpful to get the information out of what's going on with today's event, by all means do that. Now, two other things to say to you today is that we will have a Q&A session. Now, the Q&A session will take place at the end of this morning. We will do it again tomorrow at the same time, tomorrow morning, and likewise when we wrap up in the afternoon tomorrow. So we're going to hold a Q&A session. That means that you can start using the Q&A as a method to state what kind of question you may have. And if you have a speaker, very much that you would like to answer it, please mention the speaker's name, and we will try to do that. We will try to do the chatting mechanism and use that as a way to try to get the questions kind of going. But there will be obviously questions that will need to go to the panel, and we will bring that to the very end of the Q&A session. So I hope that's okay with you, and that's just the method we're doing for this specific event, and we move from there. Next slide, please. So today we're going to move on. We're going to talk about the STAIR4SECURITY project. Now, Philip gave an excellent introduction to it, and this is part of it. But I want to speak openly to you. You can see what we're doing from the text in front of you, that it's a pre-standardization platform and governance system within the e-learning tool. And what it is doing is that it's looking very much so at the coordination, research, innovations, and standardization. And we can put in better practice there in two areas, disaster risk resilience, and also this ties into CBRNE. And we're looking at preparedness and response. Now that's a high level effective. But what it actually is an expert-driven type of platform. So to give you an example, for example, if I was out in the field and I wanted to know what was kind of going on, then I think what we can have is we can have information coming from the platform. Now, so the platform has got an amalgamation of information gathered from all the research projects that are out there related to what we're doing, and we've put it there. So if I wanted to come up with my own project, be it to do decontamination or to do explosives or whatever, I can go onto this platform and I can see what's there. So by seeing what's there, I can say, okay, I can collaborate with some people that's there. I most definitely do not need to go off and reinvent the wheels because it's done. So from an ongoing out there person who's dealing very much so with issues, I can do this. I can actually use the platform, the knowledge that's out there, and drive forward. So I think it's very, very clear to understand that we are taking the knowledge and information that's been gathered through the number of research projects being out there and making it more effective and more useful. So that's probably the first thing that I'd like to say to you. The second thing I'd like to say to you is that we have a supporting e-learning tool. Now, tomorrow we will spend time on that, and we will see how the e-learning tool supports both on the public and also from the private point of view, how we move forward. But the overall thing that I thought about this yesterday. I said, look, you know, if we have the information there on the platform and we get it, then what we are producing actually is cost-effective resilience. And that's the key word I want to get at, those three letters, cost-effective resilience, because I am not going out reinventing. I am gathering information. It's there for me. And therefore, on that basis, I can move forward with the project I have, be it from a research point of view or from a practical point of view, with the knowledge that's there. And by getting onto the platform, be part of the platform, I can collaborate with those who've already done the work that's out there. I can communicate with it and get the information going. So this is the knowledge base, very much so information system related to standardization, research, and innovation. And it helps for better coordination. And I think there's some of the key messages I want to get across to you just now before we go on to the rest of the projects. I hope that's quite clear. One thing I want to say before we move on, the database, sorry, the system that we have, the platform and governance system, it will only be as good as the information that's on the system. So what we're encouraging all the time as we move forward with this platform is to get more information and about related projects so that therefore the information on that can be used wisely. I think that's pretty important just to say that. I hope that's clear to everybody. Can we go to the next slide, please? So here's an example. Here what I'm trying to get across to you is the fact that we have information requirements there in the center. And so this is basically the platform, and frontline practitioner, they need to know what's going on. Is there something I can check out? Is there some information on there that I can? So they can go to the platform and get it. Then if you look there to the future, the academics, those who work going forward, the unknown knowns, that, as we describe it here, is that we don't know how things are going to go in the future. There's obviously more sophistication kind of coming our way, and therefore we have to become more resilient. And therefore the platform knowledge is out there that they can tap into it and take it that way. Likewise, from a policy point of view, if the information is out there, then that at policy level, you can strengthen resilience on a national basis and likewise on a European basis, because you can see what's all there. So right across the different DGs in Europe, in the European Commission, you can see what's happening, what's out there, and there's no need to kind of say overlap or whatever, because you can see very much so that's been addressed there, and maybe it needs to be strengthened, but the knowledge is there. So it's all a question now about strengthening the platform with more knowledge coming in, improving it, and then using it for your specific needs. So it is a top-down approach. It is also a bottom-up approach, and we take it from a policy level, and we also take it from a bottom approach, and get the information to various people in different areas. So I think this is very good. The one thing I want to say here, if you could look to the left very, very briefly, see the information sharing and knowledge is. This design of the platform was done. Okay, we're presenting in English today and tomorrow, and I'll go through today's event in more detail. But it's designed such that the language barriers will not be a barrier to go forward, because it's the design that allows for that there. And we all know very much so the various disciplines that are there in dealing with disaster risk resilience. So we're trying to accommodate quite an awful lot in this platform, and I hope you get it. So let me just move on to the next slide, please. And let me talk to you a little bit more. So this is the STAIR4SECURITY project broken down into work packages. There are actually 3 main work packages. Today we're going to look at work package 2. This is the platform. Later on tomorrow, which we'll take a look at the governance of the platform, which will be done by this. Now, Patricia Compart, who's also on the call here today at the meeting, will present later on today. Patricia led this, so she's from the Ministry of Defense, and also is the CEN in France, and also CEN-T1 chairperson. So Patricia will talk a bit more about this. And I think the beauty about this, when Patricia presents, she will give you an understanding not only of the platform in more detail, but she'll also give you an understanding of the benefits you get from different perspectives. So I think this is going to be very important that we hear Patricia today and go forward it. Work package 3 is basically an advancement of the existing CEN workshop agreement. And tomorrow we will listen to Camille and Steffi, who will explain from DIN and AFNOR about how that's been advanced. But the e-learning tool is primarily where work package 4 comes in. And we're going to talk about that tomorrow in more detail. But today it's all primarily about the platform. And we're going to show you how it works. We're going to come up with examples of how it's being used. And critically, we're going to show you about why it's needed. And this will come in from today's event. So we go to the next slide, please. So we go back. Yeah, so here we go. I want to talk about the engagement very briefly before we move on. We didn't kind of go through the normal routine in terms of taking the project, looking at the DOA and going forward. What we did is that we engaged. We engaged very much so from the very beginning, because without knowing what the people's needs are, what the project's needs are, we're going to come up with something that's not needed. Where in fact what we did is that we went out using an agile approach, engaging with different people at different aspects of the project to try to find out what are the problems, what are the issues, and we brought that knowledge into the project, and we strengthened all along. Those of you who are at previous webinars would have seen what we were doing. We listened, we learned, and then we acted on it. So you can see at policy level, we had a number of meetings at the early stage with DG Home and throughout. Philip, fantastic, with Isabel, with JRC at the early stage, and DJ Echo in background mode all the time. And initially through the network, our practitioners, it allowed us to listen, to explain what we're trying to achieve, and then to come forward with it as a tool. But we've also engaged with a number of projects. And here I give you some examples, and I've hyperlinked them, because when the event is over and it's been recorded, you can come and look at it. We have the Fire In project, which is really a one-stop cluster, I think is probably the word to use, for fire and rescue. Then we have the No Fear project. The No Fear project, which I'm part of, and I will speak on this tomorrow, is to do with the emerging medical services and critical care. So these are all 2 specific projects that we work on. Now today we also have on there is the Including project, and later on Luigi, who's on the call, will present very much so how they actually used the STAIR4SECURITY platform for the work that they're doing. And that project is dealing with, it's an innovation cluster to do with radiological and nuclear emergency. So this is a very, very project. Now our colleague, and I use the word very clearly, our colleague Clive will come on quite soon, and he'll explain the Encircle project. And the Encircle project, you're not familiar with it, it's really a cluster. European cluster that looks very much so CBRN innovation for the market needs. And it deals with innovation, it deals with interoperability, and it deals with standardization. And they did a number of surveys over the project, which are very important. And Clive is on the advisory board of STAIR4SECURITY, but he's also involved in No Fear. So it's really good. We have strong engagement throughout the project to listen, to learn, to exchange knowledge and ideas, and take this on board. So we, again, as I said from the beginning, we applied an agile approach, engaging, listening, learning, improving, and we're going forward. And this is where we are with this advanced prototype we have at this stage. And we're going to go through Clive's presentation next. So finally, before we go to the program which I'm going to outline, I want to show you who the team is. Can we go to the next slide, please, Livia? So this is who we have. We have the partners, Sen, who you've met, Livia on the call, who welcomed you all to it, which is great. And in Work Package 3, we have colleagues in Germany, in Austria, AFNOR in France, and we have in the Swedish Institute of Standardization. And they primarily dealt in the area of Work Package 3 and Livia in Work Package 4. Then following that, you have my own organization, TFC, the NUIG Galway, and Future Analytics, which recently became part of the KPMG. Now, we worked in Work Package 2 and Work Package 4, and this is where the core of where today's session will be, and also tomorrow. So I'm going to go to the advisory board, and I'm going to say one thing, one word: thanks. I think it's important to say that again one more time, thanks, because these people were brought on board. Because when we put this project together, we thought it was maybe slightly imbalanced, where we had a lot of emphasis standardization body heavily involved, which is fine, but we wanted to straighten our knowledge and understanding from disaster risk resilience and CBRNE. So Clive from BA System, thank you very much. Your commitment has been brilliant to this, and I know it was voluntary. Raquel, a torrent of a young lady whose knowledge in CBRN is very welcome, and worked across Work Package 3, Work Package 2, and Work Package 4, and was a courageous effort, and is also going to work with us tomorrow. David Crouch, who's from 3M, I'm not sure he's on the call, but will speak tomorrow. He will speak very much so about the platform, and he will explain that how he is using. Now, David is also the convener of Working Group 2, sorry, on CEN/TC 391. And what CEN/TC 391 is in cybersecurity. So Dave is very, very well experienced, over 20 years working in the industry, and he's going to show you the benefits and the use of what he has done on the platform. So I think you will find the presentation tomorrow very, very good, very interesting, and very enlightening. So this will be tomorrow's. Finally, we have Karen Neville, who joined us probably about a year and a half ago. The COVID not time back, and each one, Karen included, were very helpful and courteous and helped us to drive it. So we're hoping through this agile approach to the engagement we've with the advisory board, through the webinars and in more recent time hackathons that we did, that we've come up with a platform that's got huge potential going forward, and we're looking forward very much so today to sharing it with you. We go to the next slide, please. So today, just very briefly before we move on, we have three main sessions this morning. Clive, who's named from Clive Goodchild, who we spoke about earlier on, will explain very much so a perspective based on the research they've run on Circle, specifically on standardization, and will highlight very much so why this is needed, why this platform is needed. I think Philippe also mentioned in the early presentation, but I think it's very important. Then we will listen to Patricia. Patricia, as you know, is Work Package 2 leader who drove the platform. Is also CEN/TC 391 chairperson, and also for the Ministry of Interiors in France. Now, Patricia has been a driving force and very, very good to work with at this stage. And what Patricia will do, as I previously mentioned, she will talk very much so about the platform opportunities that are out there from different perspectives, at policy level and also practitioner level. And also the benefits will come through. I think you're going to find that presentation excellent. And then we're going to show you a case study. This will come from Luigi. And Luigi will show how he's used it in the Including project. And I think it's going to be good. And he will be supported by Augustin, who works with us on the STAIR4SECURITY platform. And he was the main development with his colleagues there as well. So he will work with Luigi in that. So we're going to enjoy that. So I think we have a balanced session for this morning. I think you're going to find it quite interesting. I again repeat, we will use the chat. We will use the chat to try to get across as many questions on tandem with the presentation going on. And those who are working the project will try to help out. And then likewise, when we get to the very end, the audience sessions, we will open it up there and we will go through the chat, which Anna, who from KPMG, will help work with me on the specific area, and then we go. By the time we get to the closure, I will spend very little time talking to you, but what I will show you is going to happen tomorrow. So you will see the plan of the event for the 28th. Again, just to remind you, we will start the same time tomorrow morning, and then we go in the afternoon. I think it's 2:15 CES time. So that's it for today. That's enough for me. Again, I thank you for listening to me, for being there today, for joining us, and now we get on and we go to the next presentation.